Hello, Next community. Let's see. Why is it so blurry? Let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit. So this is previous our little Next 68K emulator that we've been working on since 2010 over at the nextcomputers.org forum. There's some talented developers that have been working on this. And so I thought I'd show you a couple things that are pretty cool. So initially, this is the screen you're going to get when you install it. It's a free emulator, okay? So you pick your next system. And because I've got a little app I want to show you guys that's pretty cool that I discovered last night, instead of it being a NeXTCube Turbo with Dimension, I'm going to change this to a Next Turbo Color, right? And then we can look at the customization. This lets you pick the megahertz. I'm going to go ahead and make it a nitro, which is 40 megahertz. The maximum is 128 megs of RAM. 70 nanosecond actually works better than 60. That's what Next was synced for. I'm not sure if that makes a difference on the emulator, but I'm going to leave it that way. Then we've got the DSP 56001 chip, and you can add expansion memory now. That's that slot that if you have original Next hardware, you'll see that. Now this is interesting. We've got a couple different types of SCSI chips. This later model SCSI, we found that we can actually use that chip in reality and install it on the earlier Next boards, the 25 megahertz systems, and it speeds up that bottleneck a little bit. For giggles, I'm going to go ahead and click the NBIC present, which allows you to do some networking stuff. The RTC chip, I will just leave where it is. And we're going to go back to the system menu. I need to figure out or learn a little bit more about that RTC chip. I think that's something new in version 3.1. Or maybe it came in earlier, but I just hadn't noticed it before. So, with that set, we're going to go back to the main menu. Now, ROM, here's where it's important. It shows you for 68030, 040, and turbo systems. So it is important for you to have this ROM chip. You need to download it and set it. In this case, I show that it's already set up, but we do have those in the Next Computer archives. It does not come with previous. So you want to be sure and have your ROM version, and I can walk you through that in an install. I thought I hadn't shown anybody how to do, I do a configuration. So I'll step through display. We don't have any Next Dimension boards, and we're going to do color. I don't think we're going to really have to worry about it. So we're just going to skip that. That's mainly if you added your dimension boards with Next cubes. Network, Ethernet connected. I do have that working. So I do have an NFS shared directory. It's cool in 3.1. They do set that up for you. And then they also give you instructions on how to get surfing on the web now. So you can follow the step-by-step instructions on how to get previous, so you can run all the original web browsers. Boot options. You want to boot from SCSI device, right? And that'll let you set up your SCSI hard drive images. For SCSI disks, I've created different disks within previous. You go into the disk directory, uncompress the disk image. Now with OPENSTEP 4.2, new in 3.1, you have a 2.9 gig image or 2.88. So that's kind of nice. You get a little bit more space if you're installing OPENSTEP. And then I've got some other images that I've had in the past and have some apps that I want to try. And in this case, the HD3.HDA image, that's an image I can copy it over to an SD card if it has HDA. I've also found that you can convert these SDs to HDA and have them bootable, which is nice on, say, a Zulu SCSI card or a Blue SCSI card. So it makes it interesting for me because I can work on modern hardware, set up all my files and directories, and then simply drag and drop those HDA files onto a formatted SD card, take them over to my real Next hardware, and if I've done everything correctly, it boots it up, right? I know I'm saying a lot, but just kind of stepping through here. So back to our main menu. We're not going to worry about MO disks or floppy disks. Keyboard, I think now they have, in the latest version, you can do ADB or non-ADB. I'm just going to leave the default settings, same for mouse, sound, printer, all default for me. Now, click Save Config, right? And it's going to jump you back over here, okay? And then you're going to want to do OK, and then it's going to emulated system changes must be reset to apply these changes. Apply changes now and reset the emulator. Yes. Okay, and here you want to click default. This is for NFS that I have set up. Click select, and then we should start the boot process with all that set up. So what you've done is you've set up basically a Next computer, in this case Turbo Color, 40 megahertz processor, 128 megs of RAM. So you've pointed at all those. So previous is handshaking with all those drivers. Now it's thinking, right, testing system. If I've done everything correctly, it's going to go into the boot process, the bootstrap. So it's going to kick through testing system. I have it set up for verbose mode so we can see what's happening in the background. We're going to get a little failure up there, which is because I went with a 40 megahertz processor, which was experimental. The Nitro board, I do have one. They're very rare. And it's mounting all my different partitions, right? And it's going through the whole process. You'll see it go through, mount the NFS mount, which is a network file share, which is neat because I can access everything that's on my modern Mac now as well. Then it's fairly quick. And what's happening here is kind of interesting. I did a custom dwrite login screen, and then I discovered that there's another app that lets you do custom screens called Metro Tools, and they're now fighting it out. So I'm going to go ahead and change the parameters to get rid of my manual custom login and see if I can change that using Metro Tools, their default TIFF, to one that I want to use, which is the custom one. And so that should clear up that little overlap. And I wanted to show, I don't know if you saw the, I imagine probably everybody has, it's a tragedy of the bridge collapse. And by chance, okay, going through apps last night, I found a little app called the Beam app. It's weird how stuff just kind of warps in. And so what this does is actually, I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. Someone's actually created a way so you can test beam loads based on different materials, the length, the span, I guess it's pretty neat. So you just kind of slide things back and forth and it'll show you the breaking point based on how much load you have and stress. And I would imagine an engineer did this in probably Mathematica, put all the formulas in on the back end. And so it creates, you know, shows you different stress points, which is pretty neat. There you have it. Beam. Yet another little NeXTSTEP, probably, you know, developed by an ambitious professor or student, and it shows stress loads on beams. And in my house, had I have known when I did the addition here, I would have been able to calc the load of these beams I had to install. So I wouldn't have had to pay an engineer if I had this. I could have put in the span, the stress load, you know, wind shear strength, everything, and I would have been able to say I need this, this, and this. But as it worked out, the 8-foot addition turned out nice, and I wish I would have gone 10 feet because it's a little bit wonky, but it doubled the size of the kitchen, the bedroom upstairs. I have a laundry room upstairs. Also have a nice tornado shelter down below. So hopefully I'll never have to use that, but it also makes a good place for storing vintage stuff at a climate-controlled temperature. So there we have it, the Beam app, and more cool stuff on the way, and a little bit of a description on previous.